Get ready for a cool new card game that connects to a parallel universe. Special cards act as portals, bringing monsters to Earth to become buddies with humans, and through friendship and courage, help them take on fight challenges. It's called Buddy Fight.
Hello, and welcome to the world of Feature Card Buddy Fight. I'm your host, Adam Smart, and today I'll be showing you how to play this card game. First things first, let me explain to you about the worlds that there are. There are 10 different worlds, and each world has its own, I guess you say, strategy. There's Dragon World, Hero World, Darkness Dragon World, Star Dragon World, Katana World, Magic World, Ancient World, Danger World, Dungeon World, and Legend World. Today we'll be showing you a gameplay of Magic World using a Magic World deck. First things first, you must have a deck. A deck must contain a flag card, which is a card that shows you what world you'll be using, one monster card that you would choose as your buddy, and 50 non-flag cards or more. Each deck may only contain a maximum of 4 cards with the same name, excluding your buddy monster. That means even if a card has a different ability or illustration, if it has the same name, you can only have 4. The reason I said excluding your buddy, because your buddy will have 5 copies of it, 1 to put on the playmat and the other 4 to be put in your deck. Next, I'll show you how to read a card. Currently, there are 9 relevant properties of a card on the gameplay. The first property is the card name, which basically tells you what the card is, which is very relevant when it comes to reading certain effects. Next is the world. The world tells you which world your card is from. So if you're using a deck full of, I'm just going to say Dragon World, you'll look at the bottom left-hand corner and you'll see where it says Dragon World. Next are the attributes. The attributes of the card. So each world has its own attributes. For example, Dragon World has your Sun Dragons, your Dragon Knights, your Armor Dragons, and so on and so forth. Attributes will be on above the world that your card is from, and it will tell you which card, what type of attribute it is, which is also important when it comes to certain effects. Next is the card text or abilities. The card text will be the writing on the card that explains to you what this card does, what you can do, or what you cannot do. The next thing I will show you about how to read a card is the power. The power will always be the red number, or if you have a card that doesn't have a red number, it will be the number closest to the bottom of the card. It will be on the side of the card, but closest to the bottom. Next is the defense. The defense will always be blue, or just like in case of the power, if it's not blue, it will always be pointing, it will all be towards the top of the card. Next is the critical. The critical is the number that will be in between the power and defense. This number will be white. If not, just remember where it's placed. The critical is also important when it comes to attacking. Next is the card type. At the upper on the upper left-hand corner, on the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a number and a word underneath that number. The word underneath that number is the type of card it is. There are 4 different types of cards in this game of Buddy Fight. There's monsters, there's spells, there's items, and there's impacts. Next is the card size. If you look above the card type, you'll see a number. The size, that represents the size of the monster. Now, in this game, you can only have 3 monsters on the field. And the size is very important when it comes to gameplay. I'll explain that to you later on. Next is preparing the fight. First, you place the flag card face down in your flag zone. Then, you put the card you chose as your buddy face down in your buddy zone. You shuffle your deck and draw 6 cards from the top of your deck. This will be your starting hand. You then put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge face down without looking at them. Then you use a random method to decide who goes first. For example, rock, paper, scissors, or a coin toss. When both you and your opponent are ready, both players turn their flag and buddy face up, and they can shout, "Raise the flag." Both players start the game having 10 life each. If a player's flag says otherwise or modifies any of these conditions, the player must adjust them before raising the flag. Now, the gauge is going to be on the side of the playmat. The gauge will be used, is very important because it can be used to cast spells, call monsters, equip items, or be used for certain effects. Next are the turn phases. These phases are phases that will happen during each battle. It is recommended to declare the beginning of each phase in case of a card or ability. First is the start phase. The start phase of your turn allows you to turn all monsters and items on your field from rest position, which is horizontal, to stand position, which is vertical. Then draw a card from your deck. Then you may put a card from your hand face down to your gauge zone, and if you do, you can draw a card. This is called charge and draw. The player may only charge and draw once during this moment. You cannot draw another card without first putting a card into your gauge or charging. Next is your main phase. In your main phase, you prepare for your attack. You may call monsters, equip an item, or cast a spell. There will be more details about what you can do during the main phase after this section. Next is the attack phase. You may declare an attack towards your opponent's monster or the opposing fighter using monsters and or the item on your field. The player who starts first may attack on his or her first turn, but only once. More details about what you can do during the attack phase will be after what I tell you what you can do during the main phase. Next is final phase. It's time to use an impact card. If you do not have an impact card or you don't want to use an impact card in your hand, you can otherwise proceed to the opponent's turn. Repeat this process until a player fulfills a win or loss condition or conditions. Now, this is important. Be sure to announce the beginning of each phase, as this gives your opponent the opportunity to activate an effect. If the phase is not announced, the opponent has the right to declare their timing once you start an action. For example, if you begin the attack phase by resting a monster, but your opponent wishes to activate a move ability, they may announce at the start of the attack phase, "I move." Now, take your time, as rushing through phases can inform your opponent of your strategy and will allow them to adjust theirs accordingly. Don't give up your competitive advantage by moving too quickly. Take your time and enjoy your buddy fight. Now, move is an ability that some cards have that allows you to move a monster from your left or right position to your center position, or from your center position to your left or right position, but only when an opponent declares that it's their attack phase. Now, here's what you could do during your main phase. You may use cards from your hand and repeat the following actions any number of times during your main phase. You may place monster cards from your hand on any monster area you like. This action is described as calling a monster. Monsters that are already on the field may also be replaced and put to the drop zone by calling a new monster on top of it. The combined size of the monsters on the field is limited to a maximum of 3. When the total size of all monsters on the field is greater than 3, he or she must put, but not destroy, but put monsters, except the last monster called, into the drop zone until the total size becomes 3. This must be done before using any effects that say when this card enters the field. Now, there are some cards that can modify the maximum field size. For example, there's a card that allows you to increase the total size on the field up to 4. During the main phase, you may also perform a buddy call. When a card with the same name as a buddy is in the player's hand, the player may perform a buddy call by placing that card from the hand into the buddy zone and rest, and placing the buddy monster onto the field in stand. After that, the player gains 1 life. This is called a buddy gift. Each player may only buddy call once per game. There are abilities that say when this card enters the field that are used after the monster is placed successfully on the field. During the main phase, you can also use an activated ability from any of your cards on the field, which means it's not automated, but you have to activate it manually. It's kind of sort of like a machine. Some machines are automated, some machines you have to activate them. You can also equip an item card. Only 1 item can be equipped at a time. Equipped items may also be replaced and put into the drop zone by equipping a new item. When the item card is used, place it over the flag zone. It does not matter if the flag is hidden. You can also cast any spell card from your hand. When a spell is cast, it must be revealed to the opponent. After you cast it, you put it into the drop zone, unless it has the set ability. Once the turn player is ready to begin attacking, he or she proceeds to the attack phase. Set is an ability that most spell cards have, which basically says once you activate this card, it remains on the field and you put it beside your flag. Now, here's what you do during the attack phase. At the start of this phase, both players may use move abilities from any of his or her monsters on the field. Utilize all forces from the monster area and the fighter area to attack the opponent. You can choose a monster or an item on your field and put it in horizontal position, which is the rest position. Then declare the attack and its target. The player going first cannot perform a link attack and can only attack once, regardless of any effects such as double attack. If the player has an item equipped and its center area is empty, he or she may attack by putting that item to rest. The player may choose 2 or more of his or her cards to perform a link attack. The total power and total critical of all monsters and or items participating in the link attack is combined into a single attack. Now, abilities that say when this card attacks or link attacks, or that say when this card is attacked, are used in this moment. Choose an opponent's monster on its left, center, right area, or the opposing fighter to attack. This moment is considered to be said on a card as during an attack or in battle. You may only attack the opposing fighter if there are no monsters on the opponent's center area. Destroy the defending monster if its defense is less than or equal to the power of the attacking cards. When this happens, you compare the combined power of your attacking card or cards against the defense of the opponent's defending monster. Should the attacking power be greater than or equal to the defending monster's defense, destroy the defending monster. Destroyed cards are placed into the drop zone. When attacking a fighter, his or her life points are reduced equal to the critical value of the attacking card or cards. This is considered as taking damage, you dealing damage, or damage would be dealt. Repeat this process until the turn player can no longer attack or no longer wishes to attack. The attack phase ends and the turn player proceeds to the final phase. During the final phase, A player can cast an impact card, an impact call, an impact monster. If you wish not to, your turn ends. You then proceed to your opponent's turn. When it's the opponent's turn, you have to restart. You have to return back to the start phase and do all phases over again. An impact card will always be the card that is designed sideways and the text is written sideways. You can play this card only during your final phase and only if all the requirements for the player to cast a card is met. Here's how you win or lose a game. The game ends if a player's life becomes 0, a player has no more cards left in their deck zone, or a player effect states you win or lose, the game is activated and it takes effect. An example of this is lifelink, specifically lifelink lose. I'll explain to you what those are in just a few minutes. Alright, here is what lifelink lose is. In the case a card with lifelink and a number beside it leaves the field, the fighter will be dealt damage equal to the number. In the case of lifelink lose, the fighter loses the game. Lifelink means it's a specialty for Ancient World, where if you have a monster on the field and it has lifelink, and for example, if it has a lifelink of 5, well, once that monster gets destroyed, lifelink activates, and when that monster gets destroyed, you take damage equal to the number of the lifelink. So if you have a monster with lifelink 5 and it gets destroyed, you take 5 damage. However, if you have a monster with lifelink lose, if it leaves the field at all, whether you replace it with another monster or it gets destroyed, you automatically lose the game. Alright, that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions about how to play Buddyfight, please do so and leave them in the comments. Until then, enjoy your Buddyfight, players.